Hey, this is Corky French. I'm the founder and senior minister here at Community Outreach Ministries, and glad to be with you today to share some very exciting news. After years and years of thinking, planning, praying, and visioning for what God would have our ministry to do, we've reached the point where we're able to add a second full-time minister to help in our work here. So I'm excited to come to you today and introduce our new minister, Dean Barham. Dean, welcome to Community Outreach Ministries.
Well, thank you so much, Corky. I am absolutely delighted and excited to see what God's going to do in this next stage of the journey, and I'm grateful to be part of this team.
Well, it really is a God story, and we won't go into all that today about how you ended up here, and we're sitting here together today, but something that we're very confident God has had His hand in. But as you think about coming to Community Outreach Ministries, why Community Outreach Ministries? Why would you choose to be a part of what we're doing and what God's doing here?
You know, Corky, I joined Community Outreach because I want to be part of something that's bigger than myself, and I want to be part of something that I believe is right in the middle of what God's doing in this world. I say it that way because recently someone shared with me what's become a life verse for me in this stage of my journey. It comes from Ephesians 1, but I'll just paraphrase it. It says this: God is in the business of putting broken things back together. I think about it this way. In our house, we've got a cookie jar there that's pretty important to us. It's special to us, not just because my wife hides all the good stuff there.
Yeah.
Oatmeal cream pies and Hershey's Kisses and all the stuff you're not supposed to eat.
Oreos.
Yes. It's special because the person who gave it to us is my wife's hero, her grandmother. And she gave it to us as a wedding present. So it's been with us from the very beginning. And the only problem with that, it's precious, priceless to us, but it's broken right now because somehow it got knocked off the counter and shattered in pieces on the floor. And I'm at Community Outreach because I think sometimes life is like that. All you got to do is spend 10 minutes watching the local news, just kind of follow your feed on your social media, or better yet, you spend a few minutes in one of those honest moments in your life, driving the car, journaling, and you'll realize at times life is like that jar. It's shattered in broken pieces on the floor. And I believe Community Outreach is about being present in those moments in people's lives. I mean, you've been doing that for a long time with the Sheriff's Department, working in the lives of people and who in a moment all of a sudden realize they're caregivers. Or what I love about Community Outreach is you're doing that before the jar gets broken. In things like Outside the Lines, present in the lives of young people while the jar's still being molded. And I want to start a ministry that's stepping into the lives of leaders in the business community and even in the faith community to try to be the best version of themselves.
You know, I like your analogy in the way you put that, because we do things that's about shaping and building foundations, and then we are also on the other end of it when people's lives get busted up and torn, of it being used by God to put that back together. So yeah. We're excited to have you here doing that with us, and we talk about help, hope, and healing, and that's exactly what you just spoke to. So tell the people this: as you look at your life, and as you look at God's calling on your life, and as you look at your immediate future and long-term future, how does this fit in with what you think God has called you to?
I think it's a great question. For me, I think about what was one of the most difficult days of my life. I got an image of that day because when the pain that we were going through got to a point where I felt like I almost couldn't walk. And I get this picture in my head of a man who stood beside me. He wasn't the only one. But in this moment, I think of that image of the man standing beside me. He walked beside me, walked with me. And then there was moments where he literally almost carried me when I couldn't walk. And I think about that image. It stayed with me for a long time because it's taught me a couple of things. I think first, I now realize that he wasn't the only one carrying me. God was present in that moment. He was carrying me. He was walking with me. He was doing for me, through that man and through other people, what I couldn't do for myself. But I also think about that as a picture of what I want to be going forward in my life. Because I want to be somebody that walks with people in the most frightening, the most painful, the most confusing times of their life. And I want to be there in those creative times and those hopeful times too. I think about that moment because I want to be at least one person among, I'm sure, many people that God will raise up in times like that so that when it's all said and done, you can look back and see the very hands of God reaching down, picking up the broken pieces of their lives and making something beautiful out of it. You've been doing that for 13 years, and I am honored to be a part of that.
Well, I'm excited too, and the more you and I get to visit and talk and envision and pray, I'm even more excited, and I'm just praying God's going to use us to be a dynamic duo, and so welcome. We're glad to have you. And I'm sure all you can see why we're so excited at Community Outreach Ministries to be able to add a second full-time minister. That's going to allow us to go wider in our ministries that we already have. It's going to allow us to go deeper, and then Dean will be developing some very specific ministries that he will lead. So the beauty of it is we're going to be able to offer help, hope, and healing to dozens and dozens and even hundreds more people than we have been able to even in the last 13 years. But hey, this is what we need. Well, this is a faith step for Community Outreach Ministries. We're going to need your help to make this happen and to move on with 2 full-time ministers in the future. We hope you'll pray about it. I hope you get excited as you watch this video. If you're interested in knowing more about our ministry, go to our website at www.communityoutreachministries.org or give us a call. Dean and I will be glad to talk to you. Most especially, please keep us in your prayers. There's work to be done. There's broken lives that are out there, as Dean addressed. So thank you, Dean. Welcome.
Thank you, Corey.
God bless all of you.